to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor. My co-host is Leland Faegre. And it looks like Indian summer is over.
Yeah, although it's pretty warm today.
Yeah, it's going to get a little warmer into the high 40s, hopefully.
Uh-huh.
But, the Democratic presidential nominee, Joe Biden said it, we have the greatest election fraud organization set up in history.
Yeah. He apparently was admitting what we can all see for ourselves now.
Sometimes when you have politicians have a gaffe, it's when they accidentally tell the truth.
Actually reveal what they're actually believing, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, or as some of the Democrats' idol, Joe Stalin, once said, it's not the votes that count, it's who counts the votes. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've seen over the last 2 weeks.
That should be the brand for this episode we're experiencing.
Yes.
No question about it.
Yep. And so, whenever a vote count is halted, the odds of impropriety increase exponentially.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
We've seen it all the time in countries that we have performed coups in, like Honduras, like Bolivia.
We pulled off coups.
Yeah, we have, but it was only for their own good.
Oh, okay. Those kinds of coups.
Yeah. Okay, the good coups. And so that's what happened. President Trump was winning at midnight on this, September 3rd, Tuesday, Election Day. And then at 4 a.m. in the morning on December 4th, suddenly the vote count suddenly flipped. Mm-hmm. And there were stories of vans and trucks pulling up with all kinds of ballots.
Bursting pipes.
Yeah. Now they can't find any invoice or work orders on the reported Election Day water main break in Atlanta. So, I can imagine Stacey Abrams back there just turning the wheel and letting the water out.
Right. And apart from her high profile, heaven knows why she has it, you begin to wonder how conspiratorial this whole thing was. Mm-hmm. How many people are actually involved? Or are they influencing or coercing people who might otherwise not be involved?
Right.
Maybe paying them off. How does that actually work?
Most of these people that are counting the votes, they're what we could call DMV Democrats.
Right. We've never done that, have we? Neither of us have.
No.
Who would want to do that?
Well, they're people that work for the government.
That's a great description, DMV Democrats.
Yeah, and in the blue states, they're the ones. If you want to ask what are the Democrats done for blacks, in a lot of cases in these urban areas, blue states, what they've done is given them low-level patronage jobs. Mm-hmm. And actually not so low-level because clerical, as we've been finding out recently, even here in Nevada, government jobs no longer pay less than private sector jobs.
Right.
Plus, you can't be fired at civil service, and you get excellent benefits and a pension, a real pension.
503Cs.
Yeah. So that is a real boon to the Democrats, and these DMV Democrats, they're just going to follow orders for the most part, mm-hmm. right? They're not going to question the authority that got them their job, which is probably a very important job for themselves and their family, and even you could say the black community at large. But who is really in charge? It's
Project Veritas, which whose O'Keefe is very, very good, and he's been working at exposing a lot of this conspiratorial
mm-hmm.
parts of this story, is that they now have shocking recordings of federal agents trying to intimidate USPS whistleblowers. And this is how they also operate. This is one way that they do it. They intimidate their underlings and or people who have nowhere to go but for fear of losing their jobs, and this is the result.
Well, I saw a tweet about that. Apparently this is the U.S. Postal Service worker who the lamestream media accused of retracting his his complaint, mm-hmm. and he denied it immediately. Mm-hmm. And what he said was
that wasn't reported.
No, and he's saying that they were like trying to mind control him. They were saying things like, sometimes you imagine things or you think you see things that aren't really there, and maybe it's just a way of verifying or trying to push him so that he would completely verify his statement. Maybe it's a technique they use, or maybe it's trying to actually instill doubt in his mind so that he would retract his statement.
That came up yesterday in the Senate Judiciary hearing when I think it was, of course, they were interviewing McCabe. I don't remember who was doing the questioning at the time, but the question centered around, do you have techniques that you use? I think it was about Flynn.
Yeah, okay.
Do you use particular techniques to try to pull information out? And of course, McCabe had to admit that they do consider these kinds of questions before they begin to interview people.
It reminds me a little bit of the psychiatrists that would implant, try to bring out so-called repressed memories of child abuse, even if it didn't exist, by constantly planting the seed and insinuations over time. But they didn't have a lot of time to work on this guy, but still it
not
smacks
this particular
of the same,
one.
Yeah,
but I mean,
smacks of the same thing.
Yeah, and when you consider, if you go back to that whole episode, I mean, they decided to go after Trump in the summer of 2015. We know this now. So they were deliberately seeking an opportunity at any given point in that, and even after he was elected, to pull off a coup d'etat. And I think that's what we're witnessing right now, an extension of the coup d'etat.
This is a color revolution we're experiencing.
Absolutely.
Where we have become the Ukraine, we have become Belarus, we've become all these countries. The only thing we're not so far is Syria, in the sense that we don't have, although we do have violence in the streets, luckily it's contained in a few cities. But that would be the next step if they were going to do that, go all Syria on us. I hope they don't, and I hope they don't try it. Because
but I don't think they would hesitate.
It's
up their sleeve. They'll use it if they need to.
At a Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host. My name is Brendan Traynor, and I'm here with Leland Fagley. And we were discussing the election theft, which is becoming more and more appearing that that's exactly what it is, and it was organized, and it was multi-layer, even though the New York Times said, there's no such thing as a Democratic Party machine.
Oh, yeah.
Because political parties are made up of people, and they're not machines. That was actually their editorial.
I think there should really be a discipline in this country, and I mean in all facets and all professions, that we just discount or even dismiss or even ignore the New York Times. What is the point of including them into the debate anyway?
I don't know.
If it wasn't so serious, it's hysterically funny.
Because they're supposed to be the newspaper of record.
Well, that was once upon a time. We can all recognize that once
Yeah.
upon a time it existed, but it's not anymore.
No.
I mean, everybody knows this, so why do we keep referencing this source all the time? And everybody does it. Everybody does it.
I know. It's a very excellent question.
I thought so.
Yeah. And you can say that about the Washington Post.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
yeah. Time magazine. I mean,
Time and Newsweek.
Where
and
do you
all
want
of
to
those.
pick it up? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so Joe Biden has set up an office of the president-elect with a the things like you see after a football game with the logo behind him.
Just to make it official.
Yeah.
But he has no GSA money.
No.
He's not getting any GSA
No,
money.
he's not.
So I guess he's going to have to go to his wealthy donors for that. Huh?
Right. And the president ordered that it's going to be business as usual, and he fired Esper, and
good riddance. I'm surprised Ray wasn't the next one.
Well,
he might be.
He might be. I mean, if Biden is certified as president, that's he should blow it all up. He should fire Ray and
leave people in positions that celebrate his legacy, if for no other reason.
Yeah, even if Biden reappoints them, it would still be a statement. But he should release all the documents that are currently under seal.
He may be using that as leverage as we speak. Do you think?
He could be, yeah. I mean, even as Brennan said that he's afraid he's going to turn them over to the Russians.
Right.
Because, they're genetically predisposed to manipulation.
Well, this is from a guy who voted for Gus Hall in 1976. So.
And, and it's, they're still working from the Soviet playbook. Even the Soviet Union is dead since 1990. But anyway, so where can we go for now? I mean, right now, Fox is losing its viewership over their handling of the situation.
I've had to just either take the volume down on the programming or just move to another channel altogether.
Right.
Lately, I just can't tolerate it. Yeah.
And
I think they know that, by the way. I think I got a sense this morning that the programming elite there have decided that we better not, pull this too far in that direction, because they must know that we're tuning out.
Right.
And that's not good for them, especially because we already know that the America Only Network and Newsmax is picking up the slack where they have failed us.
Right. And people, you should be asking your cable provider or satellite provider, if they don't already, to get those channels into here.
Mm-hmm.
And the founder of Fox is Rupert Murdoch, who just happens to be married to a Jewish woman. His son is James Murdoch, who is an American, lives in America. Rupert is a Brit.
I think he's actually Australian, isn't he?
But I think he's living in America.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. Yeah.
And Catherine Murdoch is his wife, and they are Clintonistas, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was, tweeting out about Joe Biden's victory and all that.
Well, this is the mindset of the globalist.
Yeah.
These are all just globalists.
Speaking of globalists, so far, every single country pretty much has recognized Joseph Biden as the new president, except for Russia, China, and Turkey, who have said the election is too early to call. And the president of Mexico, our friend, who Obrador, yes, who
our listeners knew that.
Yeah, our listeners.
But
knew
I just put that out.
But
there.
the senator from Minnesota, Klobuchar, she didn't.
No, she didn't know that. Isn't she awful? I saw her a day before yesterday, I think, on something, and she's just I just can't explain my enmity for her. I just don't.
I know. She's just got that.
I don't know what it is.
PTA, teacher looking down on a student type of, she's got a smirk on her face when she talks.
So it's an arrogance, is what you're saying.
It's an elite arrogance.
Well, but that's common to all of them. I mean, that's what their constituencies are comprised of.
Right.
They wouldn't have a constituency if they weren't dumbed down and poor and, disadvantaged in some way.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu tweeted out a thanks to Trump for his service, but don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he congratulated Joe Biden, and we are certain you will work with us and to make for the greater good and glory of Israel, which is true. I mean, the Democrats are even more so than the Republicans.
Did
probably.
Iran hear about this?
Yeah. I mean, what can you say? Let me see. The Attorney General of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, who said before the election Trump would not be allowed to win the state. Happens to be Jewish.
Happens to be Jewish. I was just going to say that.
Happens to be Jewish.
Happens to be Jewish.
Yep. And then the Attorney General of Michigan, Dana Nessel, same thing. And the guy at Fox who called Arizona for Biden, Arnon Mishkin, he just had a feeling.
You're not going to say he's Jewish, are you?
Oh, I wouldn't dare. He said he called it for Biden because he had a feeling Biden was going to win.
Feeling. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I just saw this morning where the difference between the two candidates now is 13,000 votes in Arizona, and there's something like 45,000 yet to count. From the Maricopa.
Isn't that the state where he's normally coming in at 56%?
Yeah.
So it might be looking good there in Arizona.
It has a history of influence by the mafia and more recently the McCains.
Are you talking about Mrs. McCain?
Yeah. Who's apparently signed on to his transition team? Is that what I heard? There's great public relations for the Biden team right there, huh?
Right.
We got McCain.
Well, if anybody thinks that the Biden team is going to be in the hands of the radical socialists, let's just wait and see. Bernie Sanders is begging for the job of Secretary of Labor.
Well, I think he has to give some of those positions to the far left. I don't think there's any question about that. But it's clear that he's in the mainstream of globalism. That's why he's there. That's why they had to fight this electoral coup against Trump, is because it was their last shot. They'd already extended a phony impeachment, which didn't work. What were they left with?
I don't know.
4 more years?
Yeah. And Elizabeth Warren has been smoking the peace pipe with Biden.
Yeah, she wants in.
She wants in. She wants to be Secretary of the Treasury. Fat chance there.
I mean, what a spectacle, these people. Even if there was a hint of legitimacy to the outcome, once they see these people in their positions, won't this just force them to throw up their dinner as they watch all this?
I know.
Because I know I will be.
I know. Me too. I mean, to think that we've reelected
we've gone back.
Possibly reelected as president, somebody that voted for the Iraq War and never reversed his position on it, and now we have him in office again.
A plagiarist.
A plagiarist.
I mean, name a subject and he's guilty of it.
Yes.
But he's an awful nice guy, though.
Forcible sexual assault.
Yep.
Tara Reid.
Yep.
As well as just genuine creepiness.
Courting the Chinese to steal our technology.
Yes.
And take our jobs. That's the guy I want. I mean, what were the American people thinking? This is the best evidence against those who are discounting this electoral fraud. The American people didn't want this guy.
No,
he couldn't have possibly won fair and square.
I know. I mean, hiding in his basement and coming out and speaking to 6 people in designated social distance circles.
When I think of those
sitting
circles,
in their cars.
Yeah, when I think of and honking their horns. There's the following you want when you're running for president. Right. It just can't be. It just can't be. This has to be a very extraordinary conspiratorial effort to steal the election. There's no other explanation for this.
Well, there was no Democratic machine in Chicago in 1960.
That's right.
Because
I was 6
people in
years old.
Chicago are people. They're not a machine.
I was on the couch watching those votes come in for Kennedy. That was an amazing thing.
Well, we're almost done, but we'll have news of...
You mean in this segment? We don't want our viewers to...
No. Stay on this.
Stay with us.
Stay on. Hold that dial.
Are we going to talk about the failure of the Kushner strategy?
Yeah, why
not? Would you like to increase your vitality? Disease develops within your body when the metabolic vitality of your cells is altered. Well, now there is a patented device that improves cell metabolism.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary located on the Forsyth Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. This is Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Traynor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. And,
You know, I'd like to get a word in here for the Gateway Pundit because they're doing a great job over there. Some of the headlines that are on that page right now. Georgia Secretary of State announces they're going to conduct a hand recount. They've announced that this morning. All the votes. Mm-hmm. A Michigan witness, Detroit tabulation machines were illegally connected to the web. Pennsylvania received 10,000 contested mail-in ballots after Election Day. That was against their legislature, their GOP-controlled legislature. Let's see, what else they got? Sidney Powell, there's tons of evidence that hundreds of thousands of ballots are going to have to be discarded, according to her. I mean, they are just really working overtime.
Yes, they are. And if any of you have never heard of her, I'd like to give a shout out to one of the writers over there in particular. Her name is Cassandra Fairbanks, and she's an excellent, excellent writer.
And I bet you half of these stories on the very first page are from her.
Mm-hmm. So we were going to talk about a little bit now, pull back a little bit, and say, let's just suppose that Trump didn't quite win and Biden is declared president. And there are some things that we really have to talk about. Trump made gains over 2016 in every demographic. Remember how afraid you were of suburban women? Well, those Karens put down their cell phones and voted for Trump.
Yeah, that's right.
Blacks, Hispanics, Jews, even the elderly. He didn't win as much of them as he did in 2016, but they still voted for him. They all gave Trump a good deal of support in 2020. The only demographic that Trump lost support for was white males.
Blue collar.
Yep, especially the non-college educated blue collar.
Yeah, blue jeans and beer people didn't vote for Trump. I see that part. I don't make any sense of that either. It makes no sense.
Well, the only thing that people are talking about now is that Jared Kushner was pretty much in charge of everything. I mean, some people call him President Kushner, but he favored outreach to minorities.
He's Jewish, isn't he?
I think so, yeah. Happens to be. And Trump and the GOP did way more outreach to the minorities than they did to their core, and so you could have to say that they took them for granted. Mm-hmm.
Although I can't imagine, and I've been hearing this sort of explanation for what happened, and I see you've written about it here today, but how did they do that?
Well, one thing is simply that it's possible that he didn't deliver on the promises that they thought he would deliver on. Mm-hmm. In Wisconsin, for example, he said he would bring back jobs, and what he did was he got together with Scott Walker, the former governor of Wisconsin, and they did this FoxConn thing, which turned out to be just another Republican corporate boondoggle that didn't provide any jobs and
that was
took away.
I think in that situation, though, that was because they had lost a plant for whatever reason. They were just trying to fill that gap. Wasn't it not one of those kinds of things?
I'm not sure exactly, but I know that it didn't work, and also that some of the during his campaign, when he went to some of the factories, said he was going to bring the jobs back to the factories that were leaving. It didn't happen. And also there was just a lack of outreach to white males in the Rust Belt. There was very little voter registration drives done by the state GOP parties there.
Well, that's not what they told us.
Yeah, well, That's what we're seeing, because the largest block of the white blue collar worker were non-voters, and they still didn't vote. So you don't have to vote for Biden, although some of them apparently did. Biden actually lost all of these other demographics that we talked about from 2016 with Hillary Clinton, but he picked up with non-educated white males. He actually grew them. So some of them fell for, remember those ads that he was putting out about Made in America? Mm-hmm. Some of them apparently fell for them, those ads, and Trump did not do enough of that.
He didn't challenge it, I think.
Yes.
There were some parts of the the television ad campaign that I would have taken issue with. For whatever reason, they did not challenge his effectively taking over that subject matter. You know, he had made the case for Made in America, produced in America, America, right. America, and then Biden comes in and says, "Well, this is what I want to do."
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows he didn't want to do that.
Well, and everybody
knows.
He has
a history of not doing that.
Right, and everybody knows that he didn't have any real plan for COVID. Yeah, he wouldn't have done, probably worse than Trump did, because nobody knew what they were doing at that time, and
he would have just relied on the governors. And I think that if that hypothetical could have actually taken place for all Americans to see, if you would have had two Americas effectively,
right,
we would have been very much embarrassed by the Biden reaction to COVID-19.
I think so too, but the main thing is that it's pretty disappointing that the blue-collar vote did not follow Trump in 2020 like they did in 2016. And I guess we're going to be parsing out the reasons why.
Ostensibly, the Jared Kushner decision was to, sort of focus on different areas of the demographic that...
Which entails, you have to admit it entails taking the other group, the base, for granted. Because if you're going to focus on other groups and put your resources there, then you're essentially, taking the base for
decisions.
Granted. Yeah.
Critical strategic decisions.
It's opportunity cost. You only have so many resources that you can spend.
He pulled out of Ohio, for example, 2 weeks before Election Day.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need to put any more money in Ohio.
Right. So, yep.
And that, played out for him.
Well, yeah. If he had lost Ohio, there would have been no hope.
Oh yeah.
But in these states, Wisconsin, Michigan, in Minnesota, the miners in central Minnesota, even the Democratic mayors in the mining towns, they all endorsed Trump, so they thought that he did good by them.
Right.
But in some of these other states, the Pittsburgh Gazette in rural Pittsburgh, East Western endorsed him.
Trump, that is.
Right. So, but we're going to have, it's a shame, because these are the people that really should be. They're turned off by political correctness. They're ordinary, everyday people. They voted for him because he was a plain speaker. Or
one of us.
Yeah, one of us.
Yeah. Except that he didn't drink beer. And apparently doesn't wear blue jeans.
Yeah.
But according to an MIT PhD, an analysis there is that 138,000 votes switched from Trump to Biden in this Dominion software fiasco that we're hearing about. So
yeah. So it's possible that these votes will be recovered.
Will be recovered to Trump. Yeah.
But you've got to face realities. I mean, I'm hearing most analysts are saying that even if we did get the jobs back from China, most of them would have come to the Southwest, not to the old Rust Belt. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least we'd have gotten them back.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would have loved to get out of the snow anyway.
Yeah, so they could have possibly moved to Arizona, but who knows? But, so that's the only real disappointing thing, really, about the campaign that Trump had, the most disappointing thing anyway. I mean, he worked very hard. He was out there 24/7, flying all over the country after just being released from the hospital for COVID. And like you said, meanwhile, Biden is showing up, coughing into his fist and touching his mask and and doing all this, stuff that It doesn't make any sense. And Kamala Harris, I can't believe she brought in a lot of votes.
No, they kept her off stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't.
Is this Cleveland?
Yeah. Well, apart from those kinds of things, I just think she does not play well with real people.
Mm-hmm.
She comes across arrogantly.
Yeah, she is a real phony.
And when you look
and
deeper...
she has a horrific laugh.
And record. She has a horrific voting record, which they did not want to share too carefully with the American people.
And when she was, the Attorney General in Oakland and California, she did absolutely nothing progressive. She was just another ordinary, run-of-the-mill, even worse than average prosecutor as far as civil rights goes. So,
well, she just slept in the right places.
Yeah, huh?
That's how she
heels up, Harris.
Yep. Ask Willie Brown.
So, even if they get in, unless, especially if the Republicans can hold on to the Senate in Georgia.
Yeah, and I think we should devote next segment to the story that's coming out of Georgia as we speak, because it's going to be big. 2 Senate seats, 2 runoff seats. This is going to be huge. You know that Rubio was there this morning.
He was?
He was already there, yeah.
Well,
so it's huge on the agenda because, to control the Senate right now is our first strategic option in the situation that's unfolded here. So,
yeah, I mean, if the Democrats control all 3 branches, or what did she call it? Divisions, AOC. What did she call them?
The United Nations will have control of the planet Earth in 4 years. They're that desperate. They can't let this happen.
Would you like more energy? A photon sound beam may be the solution you need. A photon sound beam uses electrical energy to ionize gases that generate ozone and light.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
What's the day? It's the 6th of January is when these runoff elections take place?
I'm trying to find it here.
I think it's the 6th. And boy, oh boy, it means everything.
Yeah, because,
in many ways, it's more important than who won the presidency.
It can very well be, because if they have total control of the three branches of the federal government, there's no telling what they'll put through. Now, of course, people are saying, well, wait a minute, there's that senator from West Virginia, what's his name? Munchkin or
Munchin.
Manson. Yeah,
Munchin. Yeah.
He's not always going to vote Democrat.
Well, and made it very clear yesterday, didn't he, or the day before? He came out and said that the Green New Deal is history. That's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, I mean that's West Virginia is still a coal state.
But he didn't want to say that a week ago.
No. But it's not just the Green New Deal. I mean, it's
their
packing
whole agenda.
the cord. and the
statehood for
attacking the Electoral College
for D.C. and Puerto Rico, and heaven knows what island they can find out in the planet Earth.
Yeah, these islands and possessions we got in the Spanish-American War, they're really not even unconstitutional. We've always had a problem with what to do with them.
Yeah,
we can't give them up.
No, I'd love to though.
Yeah, well,
get your act together.
Yeah, it's like
leave us out. We'll just be over here if you need us. Stacking the Senate, stacking the Supreme Court. I mean, the agenda is very, very extreme.
Yes.
Scary.
Because of democracy.
Yeah, yeah. Which is a word you won't find in the Constitution
No.
or Declaration of Independence.
Right.
But they use interchangeably with the word republic. Actually, they leverage democracy over republic. You rarely hear them use the word republic.
Rarely, yes. On the left.
Yeah. Now, whether that's because they really prefer to use democracy, or their educations are so poor that they don't know the difference, or whether they're actually articulating what they believe in. They don't believe in the republic that the framers gave us.
No, they don't. It's pretty obvious. They don't really believe in democracy when it comes down to it. They'd be very happy with one-party rule and
it's a short leap to
dictatorship of the proletariat.
Authoritarianism, yeah.
So, but that's what they claim to believe, and so we have to keep our eye on Georgia, and we have to hope that the Republicans will be able to pull it out. Now, the Democrats, I see, are already urging people to move to Georgia so they can vote. I mean, how far ahead of a time do you have to register there? Is it registration on the day of
I don't know if they have same-day registration, but they clearly have made that a point. But how many people would really do that? I think that's, an extreme...
Pretty extreme.
...suggestion. And, there might be a handful of, theoretical Marxist functionaries that go from Florida next door and into Georgia. And, there could be some, but that can't make the difference in that race, I don't think.
Now, I don't know that much about the candidates, but we'll have to do research on that.
Loeffler is a self-made millionaire, is my understanding of her background.
Yeah, but she's been kind of flaky at times.
Yeah, she has. Yeah, very, very rhino-ish in the past, which is why Collins sought the same seat. Yeah, he wanted to challenge. He did challenge her, actually, but she prevailed. So, and she was named to replace the former senator.
Yeah, so she wasn't elected.
So she wasn't elected at that point. Yeah, still hasn't been.
David Perdue.
Yep.
So he's the other one facing the Democrat challenger John Ossoff. So,
and as Collins describes Ossoff, he's a trust fund socialist, I think is how he's describing him right now.
It's always the wealthy that want to be socialists.
Yeah, they want, the Green New Deal for everybody else because they're not affected.
Right, So we do have a few minutes left because I wanted to talk about this possible new appointee whose name is being bandied about for if the president is Biden, his COVID medical advisors team. And she scores high on all the intersectionality Pokemon points.
I'll bet she does.
She does. Her name is Marcella Nunez-Smith. She's an associate professor of internal medicine, public health and management, and founding director of the Equity Research and Innovation Center. And she is one of the 3 co-chairs of the group that is expected to be named.
Is that a nonprofit?
Do you know what? Did you see Kamala Harris's little video on equity?
No.
Oh, you missed it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, you have 2 people starting off, but some people are at a disadvantage and they can never reach the top. So you have to give them resources so they can reach the top and be up with
help them get there.
Yeah, so it's all equality of outcome.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
instead of equality of opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
That's all they believe in.
Yeah, and in fact, they'll never get to the top, and the guy that's on the top will wind up down in the middle somewhere.
Nothing succeeds like failure.
But she is a real winner here. She is promoting health and healthcare equity. There's that word again.
Equity.
When they speak of equity, they're really thinking about the equity in
Outcomes.
your home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, your wealth, not theirs.
For structurally marginalized populations with an emphasis on supporting healthcare workforce diversity and development.
They got all of them in there.
Yeah, developing patient-reported measurements of quality, identifying regional strategy, and then so on. Wait a minute. It's the racial ethnic disparities in COVID-19 cases are the result of pre-pandemic reality.
And racism.
That's,
Because the virus specifically goes after particular races.
It's a legacy of structural discrimination that has limited access to health and wealth for people of color.
This is
POC.
These people are just literally insane, aren't they?
Yes.
These people are absolutely insane.
Yes.
They are the racists.
Uh-huh.
They are the people that they blame us or suggest that we are.
Right.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. So, in other words, this woman went to Yale and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars just so she can say it's all Whitey's fault.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And because she went to Yale, then she has the stature.
Right.
If she'd gone somewhere else, they couldn't use her.
No.
They'd find somebody else who went to Yale.
So she managed to survive in the through affirmative action. You know, I don't have the documents here, but we can be pretty sure that she got affirmative action grants in her career.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, and unlike a lot of people, she didn't wash out. She stayed in, and she got her degree and her position at the Equity Research and Innovation Center at the Yale School of Medicine. So that's,
she was not going to be invited into the Skull and Bone Society at that institution.
I doubt it. We should find out.
They don't admit women.
Oh, they don't admit women?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear her complaining about that. Ask John Kerry. Ask George W. Bush.
So all of these structural factors and density of households, unemployment, pervasive discrimination, and others drive these disparities. But again...
not competency.
No, not competency, not perhaps having a better diet. A lot of black males are overweight, like a lot of white males. I mean, it's pretty endemic to all races in this country, and not any other factors that are within the reasonable control of an individual. It's simply all Whitey's fault. Mm-hmm. And, you could go to any street corner in Harlem and have somebody that has maybe at the most a high school degree and ask them whose fault it is that you're poor, and they're going to tell you it's Whitey's fault.
Yep. Racism.
Yeah. So, so they want to heal, Biden wants to heal the country.
And by the way, his association with Robert Byrd, Senate Majority Leader Byrd, who had a long, rich history with the
Grand
Ku Klux
Wizard,
Klan, almost never came up. And I fault the Trump administration for not bringing that up.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they set up Charlottesville so that they couldn't come at them for that.
Right.
That's how they operate. They're clever in that way.
Are you going to denounce white supremacy?
Yeah.
How many times did they ask him?
Yeah, right.
And then when he answered, they say, "You're not emphatic enough."
Right. Yeah. How many times does he have to say it?
I know. He said it on the very day of Charlottesville.
Literally dozens of times.
He was simply misquoted.
Yeah.
When he talked about Charlottesville.
Deliberately misquoted.
Right. And then Biden said that the Charlottesville demonstrators had their veins bulging out of their necks.
Yeah.
With anti-Semitism.
Because that goes with the territory.
Right.
They have to have bulging veins when you do that kind of.
And so we need the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions.
Right. Exactly.
And we should all be afraid of future employment because we have to. It's just pure Maoism. It's criticism, self-criticism.
Yeah.
Put a dunce cap on you, parade you through the town.
Now that works on their constituency, but it doesn't work for us. It doesn't work on us.
No.
So I don't know how they expect to do this except by shaming those of us who were proud Trump supporters.
Right.
And you see CNN's running a crawl now.
This is not America.
The senators, I think, that are...
Shame.
Yeah, shame.
Shame.
Yeah.
4 years of shaming we're going to get.
Well, you know what? This was such a great show. I'm going to send this over to the curator of the Talking Truth to Power Broadcast Museum.
Okay.
It's just
Archive
good.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. All righty. Well, we'll see you next week. Remember, keep Georgia on your mind.